being able to go out in town into a bookstore because of what you might find. Culture shock. Everybody's car be so itty bitty and tiny where sometimes you can only fit 1 or 2 people in the car. Culture shock. Going on a hike and still finding vending machines with plenty of options for snacks and drinks. Talk about a culture shock. Vending machines everywhere. I'm Elizabeth, this is Bo, and today I'm going to be talking with you about some of the culture shocks that I experienced on my first time being in Japan. So let's get right into it. The first culture shock was being told that we weren't allowed to go into bookstores out in town because the things that you could find in a bookstore out in town. So in Japan, the legal age of consent is younger than it is in the United States. And so you could find just some adults rated books with people, you know, in compromised positions that were younger than you would find in the United States. So we weren't allowed to go into those bookstores. And that was a shock to me. I was like, okay, all right. I grew up in Alabama, so I was used to seeing trucks. Everybody has a lift kit on their truck and they're diesels and they're just huge, taking up the whole road. The road is gigantic as well. But then, you know, being in Japan, I saw all these tiny little clown cars driving around and they are so affordable. I'm talking, I bought my first car there for $1,000. $1,000 for a functioning vehicle? I love it. I absolutely love that. And they just never die. It always made this crazy screaming sound as soon as I would start it, and I never went to get it looked at or fixed or anything. I just kind of put a little bit of deodorant on one of the belts and it worked. It fixed it. I drove it for years. And so I was just really impressed with that. That was something that was a bit of a culture shock for me. And as well as the parking spots also being so small, and then just seeing people, don't mind him, he's just, you know, doing this thing. People just whipping their cars right on in there, in a little bitty tiny spots and in a little bitty tiny roads, going over and around and swerving, not seeing, you know, how people are multiple cars fitting on one road. Crazy. The thing that was a big shock to me coming from Alabama is all the Buddhist temples that you would see around town, and that was just that's the most common religion in Alabama. It's just a bunch of old Baptist churches everywhere, so that was definitely a shift. It was something that I enjoyed learning about though, honestly, and I would still go and visit those temples and just kind of like learn about their religious beliefs. They're beautiful temples, they really are. So I do encourage you, even if you're not a Buddhist and, you know, around a different culture or a different country where they have a different religious belief, go ahead, learn about it a little bit. It's interesting. The last thing that was one of the biggest culture shocks for me was just getting to Japan and realizing that I am a giant compared to everyone around me. I am just a whole foot above everyone because I'm 5'8", and so sometimes I would literally walk into stores and buildings and I would have to duck to get through the door, and then the ceiling would be just like an inch or 2 above my head. I am so serious, I'm not even exaggerating. When I was off base, I stood out so much. It felt kind of funny, right? Because I'm just like walking through the crowd and then you just see this tall white lady with blonde hair. You're like, who the heck is she? You know? Yeah, that was a shock to me. What a good shock. I still really enjoyed that. So those were the culture shocks that stood out during my time there in Japan. If you enjoyed this video and thought it was interesting, please give a like or comment, subscribe to see more. Let me know what you'd like to see more of. He definitely agrees with me that you should like and subscribe, and I'll see you back next time.